Good day, welcome to Glen Meditation. Today I'm going to speak on a difficult subject. Basically, it is, can getting a disease help you with personal growth? So what are the positive sides of getting a disease? Not that I'm saying go out and get a disease, because they suck. People say, oh yeah, it's not so bad, but I have Parkinson's and it sucks, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I wouldn't wish this on anyone. I make my videos because I hope that people know some better strategies to deal with having a disease. I talk on this one because having it, I know the most about it. But anyhow, one subject that's really interesting in, can having a disease lead to more personal development? And I've talked about it in another video, but what I really like is the spiral dynamics model. If you go to YouTube and search spiral dynamics and watch the videos from Leo on the 4 colors, blue, then orange, and then green and yellow. I think in terms of health, it's really interesting to watch the orange one and the green one, and then kind of see what health paradigm are you in. Do you think like a hippie, or do you think like the hardcore scientist, or somewhere in between? So there's a lot of gray area in people and stuff like that, and life. So yeah, it's really interesting. I've noticed that having a disease, and if I watch the spiral dynamics series, and then I realize that the goal to life is growth in many different facets of our life, I can actually see how diseases help me to grow. It makes me more mindful of what I put in my body in terms of food. It makes me more mindful of what's important in life. If you watch the spiral dynamics thing, and you see that a lot of our world is what they call stage orange, where it's very materialistic, and our healthcare system in stage orange is about what the science says, and all these facts and studies to explain every perception or any idea you have. You can probably find a paper to back it up. And there's a lot of questioning of that kind of system, but we don't question that according to spiral dynamics until we start getting part of ourselves into the upper stages, and then part of us might start. So we believe in like consumerism and everything, but now we're doing a little bit of yoga, or changing our diet or something, or going on a meditation retreat, or starting to add some of what they call green values into our life. And then comes another stage called yellow, where you're really taking a bigger step back from life. And I can see by having a disease that I've actually, if you just look at it in terms of development, I've very much grown in some ways. And I think when, just my personal opinion, when people get diseases, we focus too much on the symptoms and trying to, like, like I have Parkinson's, and some days I shake, and some days it's hard to walk, but if I focus all my attention on trying to make those symptoms go away, I quite often find it doesn't make me better. And when I was a chiropractor, I knew that with my patients, that a lot of times the symptoms would get worse just before they're going to get better, just like a volcano erupting. As the symptoms get up near the surface, they feel them more, and then they pass through, and they're gone. For a lot of cases, they build up to a head, and then they're gone. So symptoms get too focused on, and it gets really confusing, because some symptoms do indicate other pathologies and stuff underlying, and it's too complicated to even talk about without doing like a 4-hour video. But basically, one of the biggest things, if I'm just giving my personal opinion, I'm better when I don't focus on symptoms. And today I have some that suck, like I have a painful leg, have some red skin that's erupting, and I'm shaking sometimes during the day, and sometimes I'm fine. But I don't focus that. That's why I really like this series on the stages of human development, on the spiral dynamics, and I think it's good. It's free. It's on YouTube. Watch it, and then if you have the disease, you gotta just first watch it to see where you lie in the orange viewpoint of health versus the green viewpoint of health, and see maybe other parts of yourself. You might watch the videos and notice some of your parts are like dictators, or we have all these different parts inside of us, and they're at different levels of development, so that's interesting. And if you're stuck too much in that busy world and too focused on external things, the disease can really make it more time of self-reflection and learning and having time to work on yourself, like in the green part of the model in spiral dynamics. What I'm really excited about is learning how to more live in a way what's called yellow in spiral dynamics, and that's someone who can jump from perspective to perspective and not get stuck in one way of thinking. And I think with a lot of us, we struggle with that. Our brain gets programmed to think, well, I agree with this concept or thought that I've quite often been given to by the news or another person or something like that, but we make our mind solidifies around it, and we get a belief system, and sometimes we'll defend that quite strong. Our ego makes an intricate web of thoughts that control us and make us function in ways in society and stuff like that. But one thing good about being sick is that you get to step back and you get a kind of bigger perspective. And if you spend all your time focusing on the negative parts of being sick, then you might miss out on the other part of yourself that is actually growing. It's in a way that you're being pulled out of one way of living and going into another way of living. If you let the disease sort of guide you along, almost like a rough teacher. And I think a lot of people get triggered if you say that a teacher can be what the diseases seem to be. That it's a very like you know what I mean. If you become more sensitive, as a lot of people get diseases are, well, obviously you're going to be able to tell when you eat something that's bad for you, eat more easily than someone who's really numbed. A lot of people who are really busy are really numb, and they have to numb themselves to keep themselves going at that pace. And the sensitive people feel that they want out of that kind of living usually earlier, or they find ways to cope or whatever like that. But when you get in a situation like me, you're kind of forced back into your own world, and you don't really have enough energy and stuff to go out and do a lot and stuff. So you become very perspective. It's a tough word for me. Anyhow, so what I'm saying is that spiral dynamics model is a very good way for complex systems to be understood. So if you always look at like politics or relations or people or health, and sometimes you agree with this view and you don't agree with that side, and maybe you're fighting with your friend but you believe in vaccines and they don't, and these kind of things. The spiral dynamics model gives you a way to see the bigger picture in a way that you can see where the person you're talking to is at, and you can see more where you're at, and then you can see, why do I defend that particular viewpoint? Why do I get triggered when someone has this viewpoint? And why do people get triggered when I talk about this subject? And should I have known better that they were kind of really early stage orange and anything against economy and everything they're going to get freaked out by? If I'm speaking from a green perspective, like green perspective is like nature, hippies, everything kind of touchy-feely and emotional. So the spiral dynamics model is really good. That's the most important thing I want people to, if you're watching this video, the videos on spiral dynamics are long, but they're really worth it, because imagine if quite soon, Leo's really done the videos well, and quite soon after 10 hours of watching videos, you can walk out in the world, and then things that seemed really chaotic and confusing, because when we're in chaos, we're generally in fight or flight and stressed. So things that seem like the world's getting very complex quickly, to be able to look at it and have kind of half a decent understanding of what's going on based on stages of human development, you can start understanding why people have the viewpoints that they do. And this is a very good tool to have, particularly if you're sick, and you can learn to study, is the way you view medicine or things that you choose to do for your health based on what level of human evolution and development you're at. And it's interesting just to see it from that. So are your decisions the right ones, or are you making them from a high enough level of development in your brain and yourself to actually make proper decisions, or are you just kind of caught up in the system? There's a lot of being at the whim of people who are doing marketing when you're caught up in the system, watching TV every day and all that kind of stuff. So if you watch the green video and you're already green, you'll probably be going, yeah, I agree with everything here, or some of it, most of it, if you're at that level of development. But if you're in orange really strong, you'll be like, well, what the hell is this green video? And the hippies have made another crazy video, and it's not scientific enough, and they're talking about feelings and opening the heart and all that kind of stuff, touchy-feely stuff. So having rescue dogs and comfort dogs on airplanes to comfort people, it's all snowflake stuff. If you're heavy in materialism, you'll think that way. So anyhow, if you watch the videos, Leo's done a really good job. And just remember that if you're learning about yourself and growing as a person, and your disease is helping you to do that, well, you're letting the disease move you in a positive way. And if you're focused on all the negative stuff and how do you suppress it, you're probably spending all your energy suppressing your feelings or whatever you've learned to do in the time that you're really busy. When you're really busy, you always had to push stuff to the side until you had a time to deal with it. But the problem is then you're so busy that you never have time to deal with it. So it's kind of a vicious circle. So when you come out of being really busy, quite often what's facing you is all that, like I like to call it, unprocessed information. The stuff that you pushed aside while you're busy. And now the symptoms are that kind of, sometimes the prelude to discovering what you stored up in the time you were busy. So the body's an interesting machine. It's a lot more complicated than most of us think. And it can store memories and stuff like that. And it shows up as stress in the body and stuff like that. So anyhow, I'm not going to get too complicated here. Watch the spiral dynamics videos. Come back and comment. Say how cool you think it is, or maybe you think it's BS. But I think it's a good series to give us a map to understand the world and bring better communication between people rather than misunderstanding. But for people to kind of get past the current divisions and all that kind of stuff, we're going to have to rise our awareness and consciousness up and have newer models. So models are never perfect, but newer, more evolved models for viewing things, because the way we're currently doing it needs an upgrade. Anyhow, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.